Performance Excellence Restrictor number 5. We can't find time for improvement. Time is free, but it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it. Once you've lost it, you can never get it back. Harvey Mackay. Do you have time for improvement? I spend a lot of time working with middle managers and frontline supervisors. Most of these process owners see merit in the ideas I share with them, but at the same time, they're frustrated. Their main frustration is that they want to change, but don't seem to have the time to do the new things that are asked of them. My response when such an argument is made begins with a simple question. How much time do you currently spend in meetings and processing email and texts over the course of a week? How much time do you waste each week? Time is both the ultimate constraint to and the fuel for high performance. Without making high leverage time investments, we can't learn about and practice using new skills. We're also limited in the time we have for improvement project development. While this may seem like common sense, we still regularly waste a lot of time in our organizations, especially at the management level. We may rationalize this time waste by saying, "This is what managers do," or "My boss makes me do this." But is there still waste in those processes? If we recovered that time, could we put it to better use? How do you measure management process effectiveness? Compare the practice you use to measure the time usage of your frontline people against the approaches you use to measure your own time use. How often are people reprimanded for starting their work processes late, but no action is taken to address the behavior of those people who arrive late to meetings on a repeated basis? Who has their time measured on an hourly, if not minute-by-minute basis, and who only indirectly has to account for their time use? We are all people working on processes, and some of us are paid a lot more per hour than the people that we closely measure. Shouldn't we be more consistent in analyzing how we effectively use our own time at work? Shouldn't we be making greater efforts to make more value-added time investments in all key processes? Is it true that we really don't have time for improvement? We're not going to be able to make the days longer, and I'm not advocating spending more time at work. I do think, however, that we need to use our limited time much more wisely. Time for improvement is there if we simply look for it in the right places. Facts about organizational time usage. We only have 24 hours in a day. 24% to 30% of our total weekly time is spent on the job, at least. We're not going to give up our weekends, or at least we shouldn't. We're not going to work even longer days in the future. Work-life balance is becoming more and more important. Plus, we're not getting enough quality sleep as it is. 100% of our current time investments are not value added. How many practice reps are truly needed to really master a skill? How do you know if a time investment is value added? The more competitive organizations have realized that effective time utilization, value-added time utilization, is what it takes to sustain performance excellence. This does not mean working 70-hour work weeks or giving up your family time to do the job of 2 or 3 people. It means working smarter, working more effectively on processes and projects that will ultimately add value to the product or service we provide to our customers. The degree that time truly is the ultimate performance improvement constraint is not fully appreciated. Outside of spending time more wisely, the only way to get more time is to have your current staff work longer days and/or hire more people. Both options have become less feasible, if possible at all. Headcount is typically a closely watched measure, even in times of growth, rightly or wrongly so. And most people are trying to improve versus worsen their work-life balance. Depending on your perspective, there is fortunately lots of wasted time still available for conversion into value-added time investments in most organizations. Meeting waste, paperwork waste, and email and text waste lead the list of time wasters, with each accounting for as much as 30% time waste per work period. This is not my unscientific estimate based on class surveys. There's plenty of research out there to show you how consistently these areas end up cited as waste areas in organizations. I suspect you'll find similar, if not higher levels of waste in these areas in your own organization if you simply survey your people and watch them work. We also spend a lot of time repeating mistakes others have already made. We say that we don't have time for benchmarking better options, but we fail to recognize low-cost options that are available. We try to save time by cutting corners, but instead send the wrong message about what is important to our people. We dissatisfy our customers. We compromise the infrastructure of our performance improvement system. Having one person supervise 20 people instead of 10 may make short-term cost sense on paper, but are all the costs being truly considered? How much time will be lost providing extra training or supervision at the least, or investigating the problems that a low level of skill may have contributed to? We have to get better at spending our limited organizational time through better job designs, the elimination of process waste, total team engagement, and more effective utilization of our talent. 2 time usage rules for process excellence. Rule 1. You can't use the tools if you don't have the time. How do you design jobs to make time for practicing and using process improvement tools? Don't waste the limited time that you do invest is rule number 2. How do you know if you're making wise investments? Many organizations fail to sustain their improvement efforts simply because they underestimate the time required to effectively support such an effort. For example, project teams will save money as projects are completed, but completing those projects takes time, and team leader support is needed before the projects begin paying off. Such time is not built into most jobs. How much formal project time is built into the jobs of your frontline leaders? Leaders often try to take on this extra work on overtime or on their overtime, but after 2 or so years of doing this, most folks go back to doing things like they were being done before the improvement initiative was started. How do you design jobs to make time for practicing and using process improvement tools? Repetitive tasks that require a significant portion of a formal leader's, process owner in other words, time, such as email, text, period reports, and meetings, all need to be treated as processes, for they are. In fact, these repetitive tasks are often very waste-laden in many cases. The time saving that can be gained here is both quick to obtain and significant, and it can serve as the initial or primary fuel for a process or project-based improvement effort. How do you know if you're making wise time investments? It's one thing to make the time available, but it's another to use that valuable time wisely. For example, we might hold a meeting with the intent of using that time to solve problems, but if we fail to use the right problem-solving tools correctly, it might take us 2 or 3 times longer to solve the problem than it should have. Similarly, we might eventually get to the root cause of a problem, but how many attempts were made testing possible countermeasures before one was found that worked? How do you measure the effectiveness of your problem-solving processes? The best way to know if a change is working or not is to reference feedback from your measurement system. If your measures are process-focused and sensitive enough, they look at leading indicators of process defects or downtime, such as process-based error types. You should be able to see the impact of your changes. Most importantly, you will know if it was a wise time investment or not if the customer, internal or external, notices. That's the best form of value-added time investment validation. The internal or external customer notices, and that leads to sustained growth from loyalty and return business. Shifting mindsets over time. Whenever I do training on the topic of time utilization, I start off by asking the class, how do most of us spend our days? In a reactive manner or a proactive manner? In spite of my asking this question to hundreds, if not thousands of people, I have yet to have more than 20% of the people say that they spend most of their time proactively. They know that they live in a reactive world, and a majority of them know it's not the right way to be living their work lives. If this is the case, why won't we change? We may be creatures of habit, but why do we have to stick to the same reactive habits? Being reactive is deeply conditioned into our ways of thinking about life, including work. Most of us find ourselves in a downward reactive spiral. We would like to spend more time being proactive, but we are so caught up in fixing problems that we can't seem to find the time to actually fix the systems that are causing the problems. We would like to spend more time developing projects, helping coach our people, and learning more ourselves, but we're too busy putting out fires. The saddest part of all is that the fires we're trying to extinguish today are often the same ones that we thought we'd put out last month, last week, or even yesterday. There is a way out. If you apply the problem-solving tools correctly, find the real root causes, and make the right fundamental system changes, you can keep problems from coming back. I know, I've seen it done. I've done it myself. It's happened many times. If you invest time in a proactive manner and invest it properly, you will eventually make even more time for additional proactive efforts. There is no quick fix, however. I found this out myself. When I started my last full-time job, we had lots of problems. By using the same improvement tools and approaches, however, that I've been teaching others to use for years, we were actually able to fix a lot of these problems. In turn, not only did we double our revenues over 3 years, we did so without doubling our workforce, even though the expectations of our customers kept increasing. We were able to start spending our time differently. We could focus more on our internal and external customers. What are your reasons for being stuck in a reactive world? What big changes are needed to help you move towards being more proactive each day?